I was talking to my dear friend here. Hold on a second here.
We hang out every Christmas.
That's right. That's right. That's right. There we go. Then there we go. I am set where I need to be set. Okay, perfect. I'm a trained professional. I almost know what I'm doing. Almost. Don't tell anybody though, okay? You with me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I hit, I guess, the equivalent of my midlife crisis in the sense that I lived all over Canada, United States, kind of where I wanted to live, and now I'm like, where do I want to go from here? And watching what's going on in both countries right now, I'm like, I don't want to be part of either of them right now. So where can I go? What can I do? And why not have some adventures along the way?
When I had my midlife crisis, I ran a marathon.
Nice. That's an adventure. That's an adventure. It's just. I mean, you put a lot of work into it. Especially, how long was your marathon?
They're all marathons are 26.2 miles.
So that, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of work, right? So I mean,
Months.
would you do it again?
I did it again.
Nice.
And then I hurt myself and I haven't done it since.
Gotcha. No, I've backpacked probably somewhere close to about 15,000 miles so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where at? In
So
Central America?
not to Central America, in Canada and the United States as well. I did Canada and the United States last year. And that was an eye-opening trip on a lot of different levels. So Canada surprised me with the amount of people that were on the street. Like have not in Canada is incredibly bad. I didn't like
Housing prices have gone just through the roof in Canada. In
oh
any
yeah.
major.
Oh yeah, no. We are a bad day from a collapse. I don't know how. Like people are like, well, because no one can afford these houses. They just can't. I don't know. I don't like we are in a very bad way that way. And walking through the cities, like any city, it wasn't just like one province or one particular town that was bad. It was all of them, and that was the part that really like sunk. It's like there is this many people struggling right now, and that's not including the people who are just eking by, right? And they're just eking by. So that was eye opening. I expected that in the States. I did not expect that in Canada. And
Canada made a decision, a political decision, many years ago now. Canada has a problem with its population, like a lot of countries. It's shrinking.
yes,
So
oh,
you need
absolutely, absolutely,
you need
absolutely.
more workers, and their solution was to be aggressive with bringing in foreign people to give citizenship, and it's worked really well in some ways, but in one way it didn't was the housing because there's not enough housing to go around.
Oh well, it wasn't just that. So here's a fun little tidbit. I was working for an immigration company as a freelancer when they opened the floodgates.
Yeah,
Right, and I knew we were in trouble when 100% of the growth, like they actually internally knew this, 100% of the growth came from immigration. That's not a good number for your job growth ever. Like having like 20-30% is a really healthy number. You always want people coming into the country, but you don't want the entire population, like the entire job sector growth, to be just the immigration coming into the country. And that was like 2022. It was just like, oh wow, this is messed up. But there's other factors too that
yeah.
played a role in it. How
Well,
we
plus
handled.
as cities grow businesses in general, they bring in people who already had money, and those people buy up housing, and housing goes up. That happens everywhere.
Yeah, but so the other thing that happened in Canada, this is the thing that doesn't get talked about very much. So during the
Mhm.
pandemic, the government opened the purse strings to make sure everybody got by, but they also gave companies money, rental companies money. So a lot of the rental companies, what they did is they bought housing. So this happens in the United States too, but the difference being is sheer quantity of housing in the United States. There's a huge quantity of houses there.
Yeah.
So even 25% of the housing market in the United States, while substantial, there's still a lot of housing that's reasonable. In Canada, 25% of the housing market is a substantial part of the housing, right? And that's what happened here. That's the other big thing that happened here was companies like our housing has become an investment more than a place to live.
It's the way
And
it is here for a lot of places too, though.
oh no, no, no. But
Mm.
for you, but for you, it's the west and the east. The middle.
Yeah,
I middle of the country. You can still buy a house there for a reasonable rate of money. It's actually better to buy than rent in your country right now. But it's one of those things where when you look at what happened in Canada, there was a bunch of things that happened that made things the way it did, and at this point we are in terms of have not like the rise of how visible it is. I don't we've outshot you guys. There are parts of the United States where it's very visible, Florida, California.
yeah. I moved from Florida about 4.5 years ago, and I sold my house for about 3 times what I had into it in less than a day
Mhm.
when I moved to
Yeah,
to a one of those property management companies.
yeah, exactly. No, exactly. But in the States, like you can do that, and it's less. One house in the United States is not like one house in Canada in the sense of the impact on the market.
Yeah,
Canada, you're right. Canada doesn't have the infrastructure you guys do, and when it comes to that, and that's why our housing is where it is the way it is. That's what happened, and unfortunately, it's made it so that um, it's funny. Except I was traveling in Guatemala and Mexico, Belize. I've seen a lot of Canadians down here doing what I'm doing, looking for a home. So
yeah.
I mean, because we can't afford it, we can't afford it, we can't afford it, our own country, and that's a huge problem.
Americans too. It's not as bad in America as it is in Canada, but you can live for so much less money in Mexico um, with the same quality of life, basically. I mean, with a few exceptions.
Toilet, yeah, the toilets are the thing. So folks down here is like you don't put your toilet paper in the drain. The pipes can't handle it.
there's a
So
there's a there's a indie writers convention that just sold out to somebody else, but it was started by a guy called it 20 books to 50K
yep,
because his goal originally was to write 20 books, get $50,000 a month from them. Sorry, a year from them, and be able to live in on the beach in Mexico for $50,000 a year.
you can still do that. I mean, even now, like so. That's it. Like there are places here that are very livable. There are places that's a struggle here too. Have not like the have not concept we have in the country, both countries. Like I said, the worst two spots I saw in the United States were Tallahassee, Florida. Even the good neighborhoods were bad. Like that day, it was just wild to see how many people were on the street. And California, like Sacramento area, San Francisco area, the 10 cities are incredibly visible there. The middle of the country.
I'm surprised Tallahassee's that bad. I would figure it would have been down south more.
No, no. So I can't speak for Miami because I didn't quite make it that far. But when I went through Melbourne, Titusville, I went to the east side. I went through Orlando. No, it wasn't as noticeable. It was there. I mean, there's always a little bit there. Like in the Florida area, there was definitely the Melbourne, Titusville area. There's definitely a homeless population there, but it's
Anywhere there's warm
not.
weather, you're gonna have more than that. You know, it's like California has so many too.
Oh no, yeah, but California, it's very visible. Like when I remember I was one of my final stops in the States was Sacramento, and the outskirts of Sacramento are gorgeous. But I found myself walking through. I ended up going into like 14th Street North, and I watched it's an entire it's like a mile or two of just people living in tents like that. Like I mean, it's just out in the open. Like I said, I can't speak for like some places I'm sure hide it well. I think of like places like New York and Boston, right? Hide their homeless populations a little bit, but California and Florida were number one and number two of
Yeah.
visibility and the entire country. And that it was amazing to see just how bad it was. Like I said, Tallahassee was the worst I saw in Florida.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been to Tallahassee in probably 25 years. So I don't, it's
Yeah.
where I lived in Florida was down right in the central part, not too far from Orlando. So
Ah,
Tallahassee was like a 4 hour, 4.5 hour drive. And I
yeah.
never really had any reason to go there. So
And you're not missing much. Let me tell you, you're not. It's just it is what it is. But like I said, have nots visible in both countries. But you
yeah.
can just you can watch. Both countries are kind of in a decline, and you can see it. The United States is isolating itself from the rest of the world, is what it's doing, which in some ways is fitting, but in other ways, it's like the way it's going about. It's like it's interesting, and it's been fascinating to watch the power vacuum. People trying to take the United States spot,
Yeah, that's
in
not going
some.
to happen. It's
Oh,
that's the thing. I've heard. I was a history major in college, and I write science fiction, some of which is near future. So I deal in future histories. And for decades, I was listening to people say, "Oh, the United States is going to decline, and China is going to take their place as world leader, or or the the European Union or whatever." And then you get to the real thing, which is that if we go downhill, we drag the entire rest of the world with us, and nobody will take our place.
well, no, but no, it's true. I mean, that's what's happening right now. What you're seeing worldwide right now is people are trying to grab what they can in the event of what is coming, and that's what you're seeing right now. I figure in Canada the rubber band will either snap back or snap apart in the next 15 years. I'll be 60, so if I want to enjoy anything that resembles a life.
I'll be 60 next year, Josh.
Yeah, yeah, but I still young enough to enjoy life. Chase pretty women, have some fun. I want to still be able to live like have a life, and I'm just looking at Canada and the States right now. I'm just like not as a full timer. Like I have to build roots in other places because I don't foresee either country being in a healthy place over the next 10 years. And maybe
See,
I'm wrong.
the mistake you're making is you're considering the United States as an entire country. But in many ways, we have not been an entire country in years now. Uh, we are like sections of people pledged together who have incredibly different views on the world, incredibly different life experiences. I live in northwestern Wyoming,
Okay.
and that is as different from Florida as Guatemala is from Florida.
Sure.
Um, and it's even more different. I mean, it's like being on another planet from California.
Oh, no. But I mean, no. That I think that's the beauty of your country. Actually, is that everywhere is a different. Has a bit of a different vibe to it. Florida has a very different vibe than Georgia. Georgia has a very different vibe than Kentucky. Kentucky has a very different vibe than Indiana or even Minnesota. Right?
It's
It
not just
doesn't.
a vibe, though. I'm talking on a political level. I think the things you're talking about happening in the United States and Canada is more unified in a lot of ways politically. Maybe not,
Eh.
better than me, but when I look at Canada and I see things happen, it's like certain provinces say, we don't like this and we don't want this, but they still do it.
So
In the United States, when when the federal government says do something and Texas doesn't like it, Texas doesn't do it and dares the government to come stop them.
but it's okay. But it's also like both countries have fundamentally different systems. That's the other big difference,
Yes.
right? People like one of the biggest misnomers about your country is your minimum wage. Your minimum wage federally is very low, but state by state by state, it's very different. Some states are much higher minimum wage than anything Canada
California has
has.
$25 per hour.
Yeah, California, but also like Washington State, Oregon, same thing. Like they have higher minimum wages, and
And not coincidentally, they have higher cost of living.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the point, that's absolutely true too. But the point I'm getting across is that every state has its own way of doing things, and it's by design that way. You guys are built like the president may make a law, but it's up to you guys to ratify the laws how you see fit. And sometimes you push back and you actually beat the Fed, and vice versa. Sometimes the Fed pushes back and beats you. But the system's built that way on purpose. The idea, right? So it keeps everybody at least a little honest, if not. I mean,
honest may be the wrong word.
Yeah, honest is the wrong word. Honest is the wrong word. More like, but it forces everybody to at least work together on some level, and that's not a bad like part of your system. It's right. The downside of your system is it looks like from the outside looking in, it looks like nothing gets done. And in some ways, that's very, very, very true. Our system's a lot more unified, but that doesn't mean. We have right now. Canada is facing what I would call a crisis in trusting our government, because we don't like. Alberta's talking about separation. Quebec's talking about separation again, and you don't talk about those things openly unless there is a very lack of faith in the current system, right?
I don't know why they want to keep them.
Who?
I said I've been to Quebec. I don't know why the rest of Canada wants to keep them.
Resources. Yeah. So, but I'm just saying, like, but that's the thing. Like right now, that's happening again, and it's because as it stands right now, things are breaking apart. Like the federal level is not trusted, not like it should be anyway. And because of that, it's creating these divergences. You're actually better built to handle that than we are. Right,
we're way ahead of you. We haven't trusted our government in decades, man.
No, but I mean that's the thing, right? Like that's where we're coming as a country. We're coming to this development of Canadians believe in order. They don't necessarily believe in freedom, but they do believe in order. And at this point, the orders we've kind of gone for the last few years have come across incredibly toxic. So people are kind of waking up to that, and it's creating some of the schisms you see here. But we're a younger country than you guys, so we're kind of trying to figure stuff out. Still,
it's amazing that anybody is.
Yes, yeah, but we are. We're like that but right. But like that's the truth, though, right? Like that's not the lie. So when you look at things honestly, like. We are about to come to the point of term where we are going to look at our government very differently when this is in the next few years. We're going to have to.
You say that it's hard to get anything done with our system, but I think about 20 or 30 years ago, we decided that was a feature, not a bug.
No. But that's that's the whole point. Like you again, like your system is designed in such a way that and again, one of the most amazing thing is I will go on Facebook and I'll see how crazy Trump did this. I've walked your country day to day. It doesn't hit it at all. Almost, it's actually kind of crazy. And like I can't speak for now. I mean, I was last time I was there was October in Sacramento filming a movie. So that's a bubble. So I can't really say if anything's changed that much. But I was like it's amazing. Like. What's advertised and what's real, how different they are. And I think with Canada, the thing that's going to happen, I think it's going to come to fruition in the next few years is we're going to disavow ourselves of this illusion that the governments are friends in any way, shape, or form.
Yes, that's like I said, that's something we decided a while ago, and I think the end of the Cold War pretty much took away any unity between disparate political beliefs that we used to have.
Yeah. So
9/11 kind of brought us together for a few years, but then Iraq came around and that divided everybody. And we've been a divided country for probably about 35 years.
It's amazing how, like, honestly, 1-to-1, amazingly, you guys are very much alike. Doesn't matter what state you're in. Well, it doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter. It's very I think there are some fundamental things about American culture that are the same, doesn't matter where. But what makes it different is what state you live in and where and how that
I think what makes the difference is if you're urban or rural in a lot of ways, or
yeah,
you know,
that does help too. Like that does definitely make a difference. I
the
lived in it.
urban people in any really dense urban setting are going to be similar, and rural people, or to some extent, suburban to rural, are going to be very similar in almost any setting.
Oh, oh no, we do some of the same shit. We do some of the exact same shit. It's just like I said, human nature is universal. That's something that's definitely going on this trip. Like human nature is incredibly universal, and it's amazing how magical it can be. Actually, that's my favorite thing about doing trips like this is you see people, really see people, and 99% of the time it's absolutely incredible.
Most people are nice. Most people are good people. If you have bad luck to run into the small percentage that aren't, you may hate life. But in my experience, most people want to be nice and will treat you the way they want to be treated.
So you might hear. I'll tell you a fun story. Like while I was in Guatemala. So I right before I got paid for my latest freelance gig, I I got to a certain I was down to very little money, so I wasn't going to buy a hotel in this one city. Well, this family I met at a coffee shop they owned, I gave their daughter a Terry Pratchett book of all things, Terry Pratchett, and they in turn basically made sure I stayed. Like they couldn't have me in their house, so they didn't have enough room. But they made sure I got to spend the night in the fire department's like headquarters for the night. I actually slept in a bunk and it was like, that's amazing. Like that's like an amazing little like adventure that you have. Like people are amazing. Like all the way around. People are absolutely amazing. If given the opportunity, they will surprise you in great ways. And this has happened on trips like this. Like this is like that's like there goes. It's guts to do. It's like I wish more people did them because you would hate people a lot less and love life a lot more.
Everybody I met in Costa Rica when I visited there was great. They're all just really sweet, wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and every other. I mean, I haven't been to too many other countries, but that's the one that I've been to most recently. So it just strikes me that
You should go to the rest of Central America. The rest of it's up your Spanish, up your Spanish a little bit. But yeah, go.
My wife's mother is from Costa Rica, and her father was from Cuba. He passed away now, but so they spoke Spanish in their house. So I'm married to my translator.
That's great. That's great. No, you'll have a lot of fun. Like you'll have a lot of fun. Lake Atitlan's really good. Antigua is a nice place to visit for sure. Even Guatemala City had a bit of was fun. And no, like I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed seeing a different way of doing things. It actually kind of gives me hope that what's going on in Canada and the United States is truly an aberration and will disappear, will come and go. Like it's not like, that's kind of my hope anyway.
Well, as a something of a futurist, by trade, I am of the opinion that there's going to be more and more of a disconnection between the people of our countries and their government.
Yeah.
And that's going to come to a head in some unpleasant way at some point, which I hope I'm not around for.
It could, but it also could just disappear. There's a point, like if they're so separated from each other that there's no relevancy to each other, like the government would just disappear. Like
governments don't disappear unless there is either blood or money involved.
I think
money involved, that's the most pleasant way to get rid of them.
But I think it will come to that. there's just going to come a point, I think with the way things are going, that this isn't sustainable,
No, it's
and
not. It's not.
it's not. So I mean, we don't have, again, it would be very easy to go in another direction, and the more disconnected governments come from the people that they serve, the more likely the government itself will become extinct, I think. Because again, if you lose complete touch with the people you're serving, you're not going to be able to function at all.
Yeah, but that can have unpleasant. I mean, the Russian czars lost touch with the people that they were ruling, and that did not have a happy ending for Russia.
No, but I also tend to think, I think in your country, I bet would just fraction to a bunch of smaller countries. Is what
Probably
I think.
would.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think. I mean, you guys are still armed, so it's not like it's not like they're going to just be able to walk in and go, "Hey, we're taking over," like they did, like the czars did
And,
back.
and besides that, we have. I don't know if there's a Canadian equivalent of this. I'm not really familiar with their setup, but we have national guards in each state. They're theoretically they're controlled by the federal government in times of emergency, but what that means in practice is you have states, each of which have tanks and fighter jets and
Yeah,
helicopters. So if they break into pieces, you can't just come in with troops and think you're just going to sweep aside a bunch of like cops and militia. This is going to be basically the army against the army and the Air Force against the Air Force. So
yeah,
it'd be very difficult.
yeah. Like I said, it's how your country's designed. You're oddly you're designed better for what will happen if a government like completely just malfunctions than any other country in the world, I think, which is something to be said. You guys concluded that your government's kind of useless, and that was a feature, not a right. So but again, this is just based on what I've seen and walking through your country in the last year, when I was going through it, and it was just like, yeah, you guys are fine. You guys are disappearing from the big stage. I mean, your time is coming from that, but I think you guys will be just fine in the long
The
run.
big stage is disappearing, honestly. I
Yeah,
think that everybody is going to be pulling into smaller power blocks
yeah.
to protect themselves.
Well, decentralization, like the concept of decentralization, is real. Like we're going there. The
Have you read
questions
any Peter Zeihan by any chance?
I haven't read any of him yet. Yeah, if you got a book to recommend me when they're
Yeah,
over. Yeah,
there's a book called "The End of the World is Just the Beginning."
yeah, absolutely. No, it's like this
He's
is
he's a demographer. He studies demographics, and basically he probably wasn't the first to realize this, but he was the first to put everything into a edible crunchy munchy selection of facts that everybody can understand. That every single industrialized country hits a demographic crisis point, and almost every single industrialized country in the world has already hit it. Some of them as long ago as 50 or 60 years ago. And what it means is, instead of having a pyramid like this, where children are on the bottom and old people are on the top, now we have an upside down pyramid where children are on the tip point, the tiny point at the bottom, and old people are at the top. And when those old people die away, and the middle-aged people, which are a smaller demographic, get to the top and become old people, there's not going to be enough children and young people to support them.
Yep.
And basically, we have built our world economy since World War II on the assumption of an ever-increasing population.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every decision we've made, every thing we built, every international arrangement for shipping and production we built is built on an ever-increasing population, and it's going away, which means a lot of the things that we've built for, the computer you're using, those chips weren't just built in one country. They go back and forth between a dozen countries before you finally get them in that computer.
Yeah.
And that arrangement's not going to last much longer.
Oh, I know. No, I know that.
Yeah.
Like again, we have come to a point where again decentralization is going to happen. What we're seeing right now in the world is we're seeing those that have been in power trying to cling to it as hard as they can while they can. That's the phase we're at. That is literally it, and it's slowly evaporating. It's like a
It's worse
Chinese
in
thing.
Asia. It's worse in Asia than anywhere else. South Korea is just basically dying off.
Yeah.
You know, in Japan has kind of made some adjustments, but South Korea is not. And China, well, according to Zihan, I'm not sure. Some people disagree with them. Zihan thinks that China, as a functional government that governs the entire state of what is now China, will not last another 10 years.
He's not without. So this is what I think is going to happen. This is just me. I think that the current powers that be are going to try to prop up China as long as they can, because they look at China as the ideal for a nation state to control. Right. That's kind of what I think is going to happen. But I could be wrong. I mean, hey, but that's kind of where that's where my head's at on this is.
See, the thing about China is they were vital to the economy a few years ago, but because of their demographic situation, the cost of labor in China has climbed way, way up. So they are no longer a production center for the world. For you want something built cheaply, you go to China. Now you go to other countries, and those countries, their population shrinking too. So at some point, there just won't be any place you go to get things built cheaply anymore.
Well, no. It's going to go back to quality. That's what I mean. You can see it now. It's heading to a quality era again. That's something that the industrialization of like Western industrialization. That's the downside now is like everything's expensive. Where are you going to go back to? Quality goods. There
are ways to change it. There are ways to get around it that involve like more automation, more discrete power sources. But the problem is we've put off developing those for decades because everything worked. And now when we decide to do it, there's going to be like 10, 15, maybe 20 years where everybody's going to be really hurting with sparse availability, high inflation, high unemployment. And, people are going to be hurting in this median time period. And that's going to be a tough one to get through.
Or they'll try to speed it up by getting us to fight each other in another war. That's also that's also the go-to in a situation like that. It's like, hey, let's get everybody to fight each other because that always seems to work.
Well, I mean, desperate people lash out, and China, Russia, other countries are in a position where they're going to be desperate if they aren't already.
I don't know about Russia. I've heard mixed things about them. So
Russia has an advantage on China in that Russia has a lot of its natural resources right there in Russia, including oil.
Yes.
China does not.
No.
China gets all of its oil basically from the Middle East, and it would be childishly simple to blockade them from their oil, and they'd be dead in the water in a week. Russia can just pull in its horns, pull in its borders to a little bit closer to home and sit there, and you can't touch them. They've got Russia as defense, but China does not have that.
No, it's fair. But I'm just like I said, I don't know about Russia being desperate. This is an interesting time in history too. It's like, again, things are power's transferring and you can see it. And where is it going? And ultimately where it's leading, who can fully say for sure, but offhand, that's why I'm in Guatemala. That's why I'm hitching Mexico. Because
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if power's transferring so much as it's kind of disappearing.
There's always going to be some crux of power somewhere. I think it just, as long as there's a human system in place, there has to be a function to how it works. We've never built anything that doesn't do that. But I also think like the degree, like we mentioned this earlier, decentralization. we're like how big these systems are in comparison to what they are now, that might be a very different story. And
what I meant was projecting power more. I mean, there's going to be local power. But I'm
yes,
talking about like the United States, right? Has the ability to project its power. Russia had the ability to project its power. I think the projection part is going to be slowly fading for everybody.
oh, it's been slowly fading for a bit. Good, a good. I read about what could slow the United States' progress down to nothing, and it's happening. Like it is kind of happening. Like every empire hits the point of we can't get any bigger, so now we must become smaller, and that's the stage the United States is at right now.
I mean, it depends on how you use the word empire. I've always been a bit sensitive about that because people throw it around a lot. The empire has a lot of different meanings. You can have a land empire, like the Romans, or
Sure.
you can have a trade empire, like the British.
So the United States is a little bit of both. Like both, they use the Romans and they use the Roman system, and they've used the British concept to keep power for a very long time. The Roman system is they developed a lot of the infrastructure in the world. Like there's why you have military bases all over the planet. Is the United States has gone to these countries and have done what they've done, good, bad, or indifferent. Should they have done those things? That's a debate for another day. But that's what they've done. But most of the United States' power has been up until this very point the strength of the dollar, the trade, right?
Yeah.
That's been. But I mean, the reality is, I mean, that's not. There are signs that gravy train is coming to an end. So when the dollar goes,
people say that, but the thing is, they never really have an answer for what's going to replace it.
they did that's not true. They did a Wired magazine published this in 2008. Now again, it's different now, but it's a different answer now than then. But in 2008, the U.S. military did an economic war game. If the United States currency was to go down, who'd win? At that point, it was the Chinese yuan would almost assuredly win.
Yeah, but nobody wants that anymore.
No. But again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what people want. This is what this is about. Like money talks at the end of the day, right? So
the thing is, you have to back up your currency with something.
Sure, but
the only country with a currency that has anything to back it up, sort of, is Russia. But the problem is Russia politically has kind of isolated itself so that nobody really wants the ruble because there's so many countries that won't trade you in rubles. So I think basically we're going to have to go to a new kind of neutral worldwide system based on something similar to like digital currency, I think.
Well, I think Bitcoin is probably the best step. We also could go back to gold. Gold works. Say what you will about it. Gold.
There's not that the problem. There's not enough gold.
But the thing is, it's. But again, the problem with a fiat system is that a fiat system eventually loses control, right? So the only real two arguments for a currency are gold because it's not very fiat, and Bitcoin because Bitcoin has certain fiat traits to it, but it's also there's only so much of Bitcoin you can get.
Well, and also it's only as valuable as you agree for it to be.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's every money. That's every money.
I mean, Bitcoin isn't. Well, I mean, gold's
because
gold was a good choice for a long time, and maybe you're right. Maybe with everybody withdrawing back to their borders, it could work again. But for an international economy, it can't work because there's just not enough of it.
No. But I think, like you said, I think everything's going to get decentralized for a while.
Yeah,
and that's where I think we're going. And if we're going down that path, gold will work in that system.
Yeah.
At least, right? It will. It won't be. How do I put this? The greatest system in the world. Like again, it'll have its limitations, but also, I mean, hey, the price of milk is going to be the same for the next few hundred years. There's an appeal to that.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, there's an appeal to that. I didn't expect us to be going this deep in politics for without it. Like, hi, I'm Josh. Nice to meet you.
Hi. I write science fiction.
Right. It only took us 40 minutes to get here. I mean, that's cool. I know a little bit about you based on our conversation. Like you're from Florida, living in Wyoming now, and you're writing science fiction books.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just finished my 87th.
Nice. Nice. I'm going to try to release 7 and 8 and 9 for me this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm going to try. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. One's a nonfiction book I've written about my travels on my Substack. So writing about Canada and the United States, what I've seen and done, and turning it into a book. Hold on a second here. Sneezing on air. Totally unprofessional, but that's okay. But yeah, it's one of those things where I have a nonfiction book, like a memoir. But yeah, I do science fiction too. I love me the classic stuff.
Heinlein, Asimov, Bradbury.
Yes, Bradbury's secretly not science fiction though. He's fantasy.
That is true. Even the Martian Chronicles weren't really science fiction.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Bradbury stuff over most of the science fiction stuff, most of it. But that's because he was just a damn good writer. Like he's really good. He's really, really good. And I'm like Fahrenheit 451 still today is still the only book that's ever scared me. So that's me.
All the books that have scared me have been economic stocks.
They don't scare me. They just make me drink. That's what they do. They don't scare me. They depress me. There's a difference. Like, okay, this is okay. But no, like I like the world where we don't talk to each other, where we're completely disconnected. Like that book in particular, sometimes I look at that as like, wow, he was ahead of his time. Like really ahead of his time. Holy shit. Like forget our Daniel Alaval from Asimov. Like, you know, that like that whole Guy Montag story is like that was the future.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm a person who doesn't blame technology for our foibles, but because I hear people say, oh, if you could go back and uninvent one thing, like uninvent nuclear weapons or whatever, but there is one piece of technology that I think has caused much more trouble than its benefit, and that's, well, it's technology in a sense that it's software, but social media in a lot of ways has caused a lot more problems than it ever solved.
It's the new television, is what it actually is. It's the new television.
Oh, it's worse than television, though.
Oh no, I know. I agree.
Television gave somebody else the opportunity to influence you, which was bad. It's like some centralized. But what we have now is people searching for people who believe the same lies they believe and insulating themselves against reality.
Yeah, but that's okay. So I don't entirely blame social media for that. I wrote an article a couple of years ago. Man, we're going back to politics for a second. This will be quick because I want to get out of this. I want to get out of this real fast. I did some research on tribalism, like why tribalism exists. And it comes down to really one very simple answer. It means that when the very leadership at the top loses credibility, what you then tend to turn to are people that think like you. Because at least you're not alone. There's a human.
It used to be that it used to be finding people like that meant joining a club in your town and knowing there's just a few of you. Now you can say, oh, everybody I talk to all around the world believes exactly like I do. So it must be the way everybody believes.
Again, this is why traveling has been great for me. It opens your eyes about just how unreal social media is. It's not real. And it's closer to WWE than it is to anything. It's true.
Look how popular WWE has been, though.
Yeah, but WWE, but again, I don't knock WWE. I like watching good wrestling, but I know it's entertainment, right? Like I know there's like the good guy isn't really the people I see playing the roles they're playing on television aren't those people in real life. They are fulfilling a role. They're doing some really cool acrobatics. Like I'm by the way, I am being very, 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 very underappreciate the work that they do, because it's an art form like anything else. And
Yeah.
and they put
I thought
themselves.
you were talking about politicians for a second.
No, yeah.
Say they don't believe what they say on TV. They
Oh
just
no, they do.
roll.
So politicians, I've interviewed a couple. They have to some degree. They have to, because if the idea is they're salesmen at the end of the day, and the best sales have always come from things you authentically believe. There has to be a degree of authenticity in the pitch. If there isn't, people won't connect with you. So when you talk to a politician, they do believe what they're saying to some degree. Now, if they're sane, it's only just enough to do the pitch. But I've seen politicians too. If their entire dialogue is a slogan, then there isn't, the human being isn't there anymore. It's just some automaton disguised as a human being at this point in the ball game. Because again, you have to. It's the nature of the beast. If
you pretend to be something long enough, that's what you are.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. That's the truth, and that can happen to anybody.
So it can be a good thing too. I mean, there's certain things about my life that I didn't like when I was younger, and I said I need to change these. And now I thought, well, I can't change who I am, so I'm just going to change how I act, and I did. And then eventually, I figured out I did change who I am. I am that person now.
But there's an authentic. But even in that, there's authenticity there. Hey, I need to change. It's not working for me anymore. This isn't, for whatever reason, I'm hurting somebody, I'm hurting myself, something's happening, I can't do this anymore. Okay. So then you found a different way of doing things, hopefully a better one, and you change. But that's how change works. Change requires internal work on some level. It just does. So when I'm looking at, so when you look at that kind of thing, that's actually a healthy thing. Again, the ability to do that's, I think, a wonderful gift. But I think the thing you got to worry about, like the thing you got to worry about when you talk about stuff you believe in. I have 10 rules of success, and the 9th rule always comes around when I talk about beliefs, and that is detached from all outcomes, because you might be wrong, and that's something
that is something that I think a lot of people have trouble understanding or admitting, that they might be wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the major problems in the world today, is people are just so utterly convinced they're right.
Yeah, but again, social media, and this is where I go to your point about social media, is social media allows you to have conversations with people you wouldn't have in real life. Like you would not, I would not treat, I have seen some vile shit on social media I would never see in real life, because if someone said that to me in real life, I'd punch them. Right. Right. I mean, there is a modicum of respect. And when you're not in that kind of environment, now all social media is bad. I think Discord's fantastic. I think Discord's great. But, the idea of what Facebook or Twitter or X or whatever the fuck you call it, Blue Sky, even, they're echo chambers, and you have to,
they're more than echo chambers. I think they are kind of like a boiler room. Yeah. They're intensifying the heat inside of them.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. No, that's the idea. Which is why I encourage everybody to go outside. Just because it makes you realize that the world actually, for the most part, is a wonderful place. And all the things we're talking about, they're just in the moment. They will pass in some form or fashion, right?
Best thing that ever happened to me in my life, aside from my kids and family, my wife, was when I went and hiked the Grand Canyon in 1998.
Nice.
Because it's totally cut off from everything else. And, you realize kind of how small your problems are compared to, the world, the universe, whatever. And I think more people should touch grass, they say, but just get away from other people for a little bit every year.
Or I think it goes both ways. I think you need people. I think what you need, different people who see things a little differently than you do.
Yeah.
Because it forces you out of your comfort zone. And that is, no matter how old you are, that's a good thing inherently, right? Now, as you get older, it's harder. I know this. I'm 44, and I'm like, you know, there's got to be an easier way of doing this, right? And then when you get to like 60, 70, or 80, you're like, I don't want to change. And by the way, that's not entirely invalid. But I think it's healthy to put yourself out there into the world and let what happens to you, because it's it's a worthwhile experience, and you'll come out of it different and probably better.
I agree.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a lot of different countries, but I have been to all but 2 states in the United States, spent time in all of them. And just that travel, just it shows you, even in this one country, how different people are.
Yeah.
I mean, not people are people, obviously, but they have different attitudes about different things. It's funny, Texas, it's one state, but having driven across it multiple times and spent a lot of time there, it's like, no, this is like 4 states, and the
It's
people are
the size of,
entirely different.
it's the size of 4 states, depending on where it is the size of 4 of your states there for sure. I did Houston. There's a chance when I come out of Mexico, I'm hoping it's Arizona because I want to see my dad, but
We're in Arizona.
Yuma.
Oh, I've been there. Beautiful at night.
Oh no, it's gorgeous. So my father has this thing where he hates everywhere he lives at this point in his life. It just is like he's like, nothing works here. Blah 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 blah. I just realized like he just takes a little too much after my grandmother, who complains about everything too. Just like, no, it is what it is. But I went to Yuma, so I fixed my teeth. So like in Mexico there first time. And I was like, this is not a bad area, all things considered. So Yuma, it's not bad. It's close to California. My favorite city in California is San Diego. And most
I
people
haven't been
agree
there
with
in a while, but back when I was there, it was my favorite of the ones that I visited in California.
So I like Redding. Like Redding in California is nice too. But no, I still like if I could figure out a way to make enough money to live there, I'd consider it. Like San Diego is definitely not a bad choice. Like it's just like
Costs a lot of money to live there now.
that's the only downside. Like if it's the most expensive, not mainland, like most expensive mainland city to live in the entire country, and it's too bad because it's perfect in every other way. Like
when I was in the Army, I was stationed in Hawaii.
Nice.
And this is back in like 1990, 91.
Mhm.
And even then, prices there were just insane.
Oh yeah.
But you want to talk about culture shock? Hawaii is so different from everywhere else in the country.
Oh, you so if this all goes like south, like I can't figure out anywhere to live, I'll just go to Hawaii. Fuck it.
You may want to read that. It's so expensive to live there. There's you want to talk about, we were talking about homeless people in different cities. Honolulu has just buttloads of homeless people.
Oh yeah. No. I know. I know. No, like I said, Hawaii is a very expensive part of the world, but if it's expensive everywhere, then everywhere's like the same in some ways. So it's just like, could I live on the beach? Could I go fishing? Maybe drink. Again, I don't take myself too seriously at this point. It's not how do I put this? It's not that important. I'm a dude going on adventures right now. That's what I am, and I'm having fun, and I'm getting to meet some great people, and occasionally doing a podcast here and there, which is what I'm doing right now with you, right? So that's who I am right now, and I'm good with it.
I guess I'm at a point in my life where I've just got too many responsibilities to not think about money.
Oh, well, again, I'm already at the bottom, right? So if you're already at the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. And there's the beautiful thing about that is, so you're at that point where, I want to get to where you're at, where you got responsibilities, people to care about, people to provide for, or help you to, like whatever your arrangement is. That's great. But when you have nothing really to lose, which is where I'm at right now, then you can literally go anywhere and be anything or do anything. And
That is true.
that's right. So, I mean, you're free. So
It's
I
funny. I'm not sure I've ever been in that position.
a lot of people, well, we all have opportunities for it at different points in our lives. I think we all do. That doesn't mean, by the way, and that you didn't take advantage of it or did or didn't, whatever. That's not a bad thing either. This isn't for everybody, right? But what you gotta understand is, like, when you gotta look at, like, I look at it like this. I'm not married. I don't have a house. I don't have any of these things to tie me into one specific place. I'm looking to do those things eventually, but I may not do them but I'm looking at doing them like after I figure out this is where I'm going to be, because at the end of the day, man, life is about really just two things: do what you love with people you love. That's it. Everything else is shrug, right? So that's what I'm doing right now. Is trying to find those spots. You have those things, so you're doing what you can to keep those things afloat and keep these things thriving, because that's what you need to do. And I get that. I totally do. Like, I hope to get there someday. But right now, I can do whatever the hell I want. So I'm going to do whatever the hell I want and see where I land in the process.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. I'm just saying that when I was young, I had my parents telling me, "Oh, you have to go to college and get a career." And I listened to them, and I went to college, and I was in the army, and then I was married, and then I had kids. So I was never really in that position where I have no plans. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. I mean,
Yeah.
it would have been nice at one point, to do that, but
You still can. Like that point may come again. Like it's not out of reach. You won't do it the way I'm doing it. If you do it, I know that. But that's not an unreachable deal. You could find it if you want to at some point.
well, this is as close as I'm going to come. I moved to the place where I really wanted to live for the last 20 years, and I get to just on a whim drive into Yellowstone, you know, watch bison and grizzly bears and hike around in the backcountry. So that's as I mean, I still have a lot of responsibilities, but at least I live someplace where it's cool to my time off is cool.
You're doing what you love with people you love.
Yeah.
That's a good life, man. You should that's a really good life.
My only regret is it took me so long to get here.
See, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So so I don't have that regret. Life's too short, man. It just is. But I'm glad you got it. For what it's worth, man, I'm happy you have it. So
Yeah, it's fun, and I try not to think about the fact that given the average lifespan, I probably only have about 20 or 25 years left.
but
So
that's still a lot of time. Like, that's still a lot of time to do a lot of cool things, right? Like I guess the one thing I would tell you, just based on our conversation here, is that I don't think you're unhappy with the way things are, but I'm not sure you're sure it can get better, right? And then that's something that, again, I don't know your situation all that well, so I can't really judge that one way or the other. But what I will say, 20, 25 years is a long time to put some things in motion, figure and see what happens.
Oh no, I don't. I mean, I'm not trying to make things different than they are now. I'm just saying, if I had started doing what I'm doing now earlier, I could have been farther along and
Yeah.
enjoyed more of it. Instead of and not that I had a bad life at all. I've been doing stuff that most people keep telling me, "Oh man, I wish I could do that," for for 20 years. So I can't complain.
And I've been trying myself, so I understand.
Yeah, my hobby is wildlife photography. So I spend my off time, trying to photograph bears and wolves and whatever.
That's really cool. That's really cool, man. Like that's a cool hobby. That's a really cool hobby. You've ever published any of those pictures, or is this just for you?
Um, well, I mean, I've had a couple published in like photography magazines, but a long time ago, I decided that trying to treat that as a business would
Yeah, that's fair.
spoil my enjoyment of it.
That's
Because
fair.
I ran into, going to Yellowstone, Grand Teton, Glacier, all those places, you run into a lot of professional photographers. And a lot of those people are just really, really unhappy and bitter and not having a good time because, oh man, I couldn't get the shots I wanted. Oh, this sucks. I'm like, hey, I'm outside. I'm here looking at animals. I'll get the shot next time.
Well, you can always come back. I mean, that's right, and that's cool. Like again, it's about what you want to do with your life, man. And yeah, there are things I draw. I'm not good at it, but I have fun with it. And that's it. There's some hobbies that should just be for fun.
I used to a lot when I was younger. Uh, I got out of that for some reason, and now I kind of lost it. So that's kind of a shame. But I used to. That's how I got into. I don't say how I got into science fiction. It's how I got more serious about it. Just drawing scenes and then thinking, I want to write the book that this scene comes from.
So, who are your favorite sci-fi authors now? Or I'm assuming you read them.
Oh, yeah, well, I can't read as much as I used to because I'm writing all the time. But Heinlein got me into science fiction. The Heinlein juveniles Have Spacesuit Will Travel, Red Planet, Between Planets.
Mm-hmm. The juveniles, or his juveniles, are awesome. The Roads Must Roll, Methuselah's Children, The Puppet Master.
Tunnel in the Sky. Tunnel in the Sky was one of my favorites. Between Planets. That's also one of my favorites. But after that, I started reading Asimov, like Foundation, and a bunch of his short stories, and Arthur C. Clarke. Although his were a little more. I mean, at the time when I was younger, they were a little bit over my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I read a bunch of 1940s and 50s science fiction when I was a kid in the 70s. And I got to the point where I ran out of that and started reading science fiction written in the 60s and 70s and didn't like it because the 60s and 70s hit a period of science fiction that was more nihilistic and navel gazing and depressing for me.
That's fair.
And I didn't really want to read that, so I started reading fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy back in the 70s and early 80s, and then I hit cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was also nihilistic and depressing, but it did it in a very cool way. Whereas the 70s science fiction was just like, there's nothing interesting about this. All it does is bring me down. Cyberpunk was like, hey, the world may be going to hell, but it's doing it in a really cool way.
Hey, it's got style, at least. It's got style.
So I started reading William Gibson, Walter John Williams.
Neil Stephenson's pretty good in that too.
Neil Stephenson, yes. I was trying to think of his name. So I got into that. And when I started writing in the late 80s, early 90s, I kind of combined the Silver Spaceship, Robert Heinlein, Star Trek stuff with the cyberpunk. And that was the style that I adapted.
That's cool. That's cool. I'll have to take a look at one of your books. I'll have to actually take a look. Yeah.
Well, the first book that I wrote was in that style. It's called, and it's gone through a lot of versions since then, obviously, because that was like 1989, 1990. But I did publish it. It's called Birthright. And it's it's a combination of noir, military science fiction, and cyberpunk, and space opera. Right. So it was book one in a trilogy, but I went back and wrote a prologue, prequel to it called Glory Boy. And when Aethon Books bought the rights to those novels. They've just put them all in one series. So now Glory Boy is the first book in the Birthright series, and Birthright is the second book in the series named after it.
If the check clears, who cares, right? So I mean,
So yeah, I really enjoyed writing Birthright, and the universe I created with Birthright, I have written something like 47 novels in. And it's a huge amount of novels, including my most successful, the Drop Trooper series. It happens in that same universe.
okay, I'll have to definitely tell. I'm obviously on the road now, but when my time is done on the road for this trip, I'll definitely read a few of yours. I love me some cool science fiction, and it's hard actually to find like cool science fiction today. I think
I
because
think it's easier than ever.
it is and it isn't. Like
It takes more time. You have
yeah,
to sift through a lot of stuff.
yeah. Well, it also like the sad thing is like by the way, I love fantasy. I think fantasy is awesome, but it has eaten away all the science fiction rack at a lot of bookstores.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Ray Bradbury, but in 2025, I don't think he should have had quite that much of the library there. Or right, they should be. But there's not enough new stuff in bookstores. You can find it, but you gotta look.
Bookstores are like a dying breed, though, in a lot of ways.
Oh no, they are going. They are going the way of the dodo bird. They are.
I most all the fiction I read, not the non. I buy physical books for nonfiction, but all the fiction I read is in Kindle on my phone.
That's fair.
I mean, fiction is so there's so much of it, and I read so much of it that I just don't have space. I used to have like 5 bookshelves before we had kids, and as the years have gone by, and the space for that stuff is shrunk, I have 2 bookshelves. So
yes. That's fair. No, I'm. So at this point, when I rebuild my book collection, there's a few authors today I'll build, like seriously build on. And the rest I'm just going to keep like I'll probably do something similar with the Kindle. I'm working on like one of my releases next year is a rewrite of the first book in a sci-fi series. Mm-hmm. I made The Cloud today, our archaeology tomorrow. I like Indiana Jones meets the Matrix, basically how I pitch it. It actually works quite well, right? So I have a sequel I'm writing. I'm like, the sequel is way better than my first book. I'm way better writer now. I got to rewrite the first book. Shit.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Right. When I started, I started trying to get published in the late '90s, and I had like multiple versions of that Birthright book written, like 6 versions, and another book. And I just said, well, if I'm going to get published, I'm going to take the best of all of these and just morph them into one book. Just throw everything I have in this one. I got an agent. I did not get published at the time, so it took another 10 years before I actually had anybody read my stuff.
Yeah, and I have another book that I'm going to be seriously doing for agents. I don't know how long traditional publishing, as we know it, is going to stand up as we know it. It's also kind of disappearing a little bit, but while it's still there, I want to say, hey, I did it. I did it once. I don't care if I get a reward, discover. It's just like, this is just a cool thing I accomplished along the way, right?
Well, I finally got a book in Barnes and Noble because Aethon, my publisher, they acquired or became part of Vault Comics, and Vault Comics had a distribution deal with Simon and Schuster.
Yes, they do.
So they took my book Contact Front, and they put it in Barnes and Noble.
I've seen that. I have seen that book. I've seen that.
So that's the Drop Trooper series, and the book 2 is coming out in June in Barnes and Noble. So it took, let's see, somewhere around 27 years from the time that I decided I wanted to get traditionally published to getting 26 years to get a book in Barnes and Noble. But hey, did it.
Hey, did it. Final Fantasy victory dance, man. Final Fantasy victory dance. Yeah.
And at this point, it's funny because Barnes and Noble is like the last man standing when it comes to bookstores.
Yeah, it is. It legitimately is. I still remember I still remember back in the days when you guys had a couple more bookstores out there, but Barnes and Noble.
I remember Walden Books, B. Dalton Booksellers, Borders.
Borders is the one I'm really thinking about. Walden Books got bought by. I think Walden Books got bought by Barnes. I know they got bought by one of them, Barnes or Borders, and then they got conglomerated this giant thing.
There's still Books A Million in some places.
Yes, there are. And there's a few like secondary hand ones that are big, but yeah, no, man, they're just not the same anymore. Everything has its time, my friend. It does.
But we still have an independent bookstore in Cody, Wyoming, about a half an hour from me.
That's awesome.
Legends Bookstore in Cody, Wyoming. They sell a bunch of local authors. They have Contact Front in there. I made sure of that.
Nice. No, it's part of the deal. Well, good sir. I think we have an interview here. What do you think?
Unless you want to know what the book's about.
we're about to get to that point. I always say the plug to the very end. But let you do the plug. But I figured we had a good hour and a bit conversation already. So it's just like, maybe we should get to the point where you're plugging the book.
Well, it was an interesting conversation. I don't usually get to talk about that kind of thing in an interview.
Oh, we started about traveling.
People too afraid to talk about it.
I give no fucks at this point in my life. If you want to think I'm the super villain because I think the way I think, whatever. If you think I'm awesome, cool. I think one of the most important things about today is that if you have your own thoughts about stuff, you shouldn't be afraid to share them, because that's how we learn. We don't grow in a vacuum. And if everybody is silent, nothing changes.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's my thought. All right. Talk about your books, buddy. Read them out there.
Well, Contact Front it's built on a framework that people will be very familiar with in military science fiction, Space Marines and battle armor. And I've had people, writers tell me that I don't want to be constrained by tropes and frameworks that allow you to market your book. And I'm like, well, the trope, all it is, it's like I said, it's a frame. You put whatever you want inside that frame. So I tell a story about a guy who is a refugee, an orphan, a street criminal, has no family, constantly betrayed by people he thinks are his friends, and he is forced into a position where he has to trust people and they have to trust him, and he has to start caring whether or not other people live or die and believe in something bigger than himself. And the fact that this happens because he's a Marine in a battle suit fighting in an interstellar war, that's just a situation. The story is Cam Alvarez, who is from Mexico, by the way. Tijuana, the future Tijuana, after a huge collapse that Tijuana is now like the city center doesn't exist, and people make a living fishing and goat farming, and gangs, run the parts of the city that still run. So his family gets killed in violence down there. He runs across the desert to a place called Trans Angeles, which is a mega city built in between San Diego and Los Angeles, which also no longer exist, and gets taken into a really dysfunctional foster care system there, and lives on the street. And he makes a living ripping off money and drugs from gangs on the streets. And eventually things go wrong, and the gang sends somebody to kill him, and that guy winds up getting killed by accident, which is felony murder. So he's given the choice of either going into the freezer, which is they call punitive hibernation. They put you in suspended animation, and theoretically 100 years from now they're supposed to let you out, but in reality they'll probably just forget you were there. So basically it's a death sentence, or he can join the Marines. Well, I had a third choice, which was inform on his girlfriend who took the money that he stole and ran. But he won't do that. So he joins the Marines and winds up being a natural at fighting in a battlefield.
So it's in one sense the story is about in one very weird way about an orphan finding a place to belong.
Exactly. Yeah, there's only a few different military stories you can tell, and they all come back to certain themes. The hero's journey's themes. Well, one of them is found family,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
so I didn't want to do the other one, so I did found family.
No. By the way, there's nothing wrong with it. Like again, I've gotten older, wiser. We'll put a question mark on, but older for sure. And I just realized, I really don't care if you need this trope to sell my book. I don't care. Can I still tell the story I want to tell? Yes, that's what matters. Everything else is just window dressing.
I tell people all the time, you can tell if you want to write this story or that story or have that theme or this theme, you can use all those in frameworks that will sell your book. You just have to be willing to, like, when my publisher, when this series took off, my publisher was like, well, you have to write more in it. And I'm like, well, I have other ideas I wanted to do. And they're like, well, you want to make a living, you got to write more in the series. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the ideas and themes that I was going to put in this other book with other characters. I'm just going to make these characters go through them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, hey, like I said, the check clears and you get to write for a living. That's not a bad deal. Right.
And I am incredibly grateful because there are so few people that can actually make a full-time living writing. I mean, it's not very many at all.
Nope. I've come close. One year I was literally $1,000 or $2,000 from a living wage. It's not easy. It's hard, but it can be done. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's not impossible. It's a lot of work and a lot of time.
I mean, I can tell whoever, there's different ways to make a living writing. I'm not saying this is the only way, but if you write science fiction, if you write in particular subgenres of science fiction, like military science fiction, or they call it exploration science fiction, where the only way to make a living as a mid-list writer, somebody who's not famous, who didn't get like a huge advance from Tor or something, or broke in writing Star Wars novels, is you write a lot. You cannot be one of these people that sits around and stares at a screen for hours to write a sentence. You have to write consistently. You have to get books out there. I mean, you don't have to get a book a month, but you got to get like 5 or 6 books a year if you want to make a living at it as a mid-lister. Mid-listers are a hard breed.
well, or do what I'm trying to do too. I also diversify in writing nonfiction articles for magazines.
Yes, well, that's right? Like I said, that's a different situation. Nonfiction.
But what I'm saying is what you're saying is he's absolutely right, folks. Be prolific. Whatever you choose to do, be prolific, right? But if you don't want to release 2-3 books, like 5 books a year, fiction wise, do some nonfiction too. It'll balance out a little bit.
I mean, you know better than I do. Nonfiction and fiction, it's like almost 2 different art forms. It's
okay. Actually, man, this is almost another full discussion. I'll try. It is the best nonfiction tells stories as well as fiction does. Like there's a nonfiction in particular wants huge storytelling elements. Actually, people that write fiction can do very well in those fields. It's just the question, like it's how you take the tools fiction has taught you to inform people.
I guess it depends on what kind of nonfiction you're writing as to whether it's a really story.
But okay, even let's talk. Let's make this really simple, short and sweet. Isaac Asimov is probably a better nonfiction writer than he is a fiction writer. That I would reading his stuff now, fiction wise, he still has a few that stand out, but he's dated comparatively. Like Heinlein, Bradbury, comparatively, he's dated. But his nonfiction is another story. His nonfiction, it didn't matter whether he was writing about Euclid or the Bible or Shakespeare, or it didn't matter what he wrote about. he's a fantastic storyteller. And because he was such a fantastic storyteller, you are able to keep things he was able to keep things stuck in your head. He should have been a teacher. If he wasn't a teacher, like if he wasn't, the fact he wasn't a teacher is a bit of a surprise. He'd have been an amazing one because he was just really good at getting his point across, but he did it through storytelling. So what
I
I'm
would say
saying,
maybe he wasn't a people person, but then again, a lot of the teachers I have weren't people persons either.
yeah, exactly. But it's a wonder. But the thing is, but his storytelling tools were so, and even now, he's still ahead of the curve when it comes to a lot of nonfiction writers. Like he's so good at telling stories, right? But it's the story because again, people want to learn, but they also want to be entertained. And if you can do the entertaining part, you can teach them. It's not that different in terms of mechanically, like depending on the type of essay you want to write, like how technical the essay is, that can be very different. But even them, can you tell a story inside the technique? Because if you can do that, you'll always have work. Always. Anyway, but that is a long conversation down a very different rabbit hole. And I'd love to have you come back someday. Maybe we could talk about it.
Sure.
Yeah.
The closest thing I've written, the closest thing I've come to writing nonfiction was my historiography essay in college.
Nice. Yeah, whereas me, I've done a lot. I have a nonfiction article coming out in Type R magazine in literally like a week. I've written everything from like how I became a Taylor Swift fan, and I got paid really well for that. To yes, celebrity stuff, good money if you can get in on that. To like just how art works. Like I'm always fascinated. Like storytelling is a universal language. I truly do believe that. But well, again, that's another hour 20. I don't have another 21 minutes to chat with you that much longer, unfortunately. What I will say is, how can people find you? People want to get a hold of you. How would they do it?
Okay, if you want to contact me, the best way is probably to go to my Facebook author page. It's the Science Fiction Worlds of Rick Partlow, facebook.com/Duty on Our Planet. You can message me on that. I will answer, or post on that page and I'll answer you. You can email me, dutyhonorplanet487@gmail.com. May take a while for me to get back, but the easiest way to find my stuff, go on Amazon.com and look up Rick Partlow. I am the only science fiction writer with this name, so anything you find is going to be me. It's handy to have a kind of a unique name.
I can understand that. So like actually, we would be beside each other in the bookstore.
That is true.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Note to self, must make this goal happen. Rick, it was a pleasure chatting with you, man. It really was.
It was nice meeting you, Josh.
It was nice meeting you. And I hope whatever Mickey told you about me was true. But anyways.
Don't really think he told me much. He said you're in Guatemala. It's
yeah. I've been traveling. I'm traveling the world little by little. For everybody watching, if you want to actually, this podcast is airing on my Substack, where I'm also writing about my adventures. If you want to actually be part of my adventures in any way, shape, or form, I'm just putting the address up there, joshuapenteleresco.substack.com. And for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. For Rick, this is Josh saying adieu, and I'll be back soon.